The night split open like glass. A blazing streak tore through the crimson sky of Lyra 9, scattering clouds into ribbons of fire. The roar was deafening, shaking the bones of the desert and the heart of anyone who still believed the stars were peaceful. From his lonely workshop dome, a man named Eli Carter stood frozen at the window, watching the light crash down like a fallen sun. He'd seen meteor showers, even orbital debris, but this was something alive. The light hit the ground miles away, erupting in a thunderclap that echoed through the barren valleys. For a moment, silence followed, the kind that only exists when the universe holds its breath. Then Eli grabbed his jacket and tools. Whatever that was, he muttered. It's not dying alone out there. The desert night was harsh. Twin moons glowed dimly through dust as he rode his hoverbike toward the crash site. The air shimmered with static. Bits of molten metal littered the dunes like scattered stars. When he reached the crater, his breath caught. It wasn't a meteor. It was a ship. Its silver hull was twisted in glowing faint blue, marked with symbols no human language could form. Parts of it pulsed faintly, like veins of light trying to stay alive. As he approached, the hatch hissed weakly, releasing a gust of sweet alien air. "Hello?" he called, voice steady but uncertain. "Anyone alive in there?" He heard a faint sound, half whisper, half plea. Eli pushed through the smoke. The corridors were scorched and flickering. Then he saw her. Lying amidst the wreckage was a woman. No, something more than that. Her skin shimmered with faint rose light. Her silver hair glowed like starlight through fog. A delicate circlet of metal clung to her brow, cracked but still gleaming. She was breathing shallowly, eyes half open, and when they met his, Eli's world stopped. Her eyes weren't eyes at all. They were galaxies, violet and gold, swirling like living constellations. "Stay back," she whispered, her voice trembling like the echo of a song. "Who are you?" Eli knelt beside her, raising his hands slowly. "Name's Eli Carter. I'm human. I live out here." She blinked, confused. "Huh, man?" The word fell strangely from her lips like something from legend. He nodded. "Yeah, and you? You're not from around here, are you?" Her expression faltered between pain and disbelief. I'm Saphira Valen of the Oralis Empire." Eli frowned softly. "Royalty, huh? Well, Your Majesty, your ship's in pieces." A faint smile touched her lips, exhausted yet oddly amused. "You speak to a princess. Without fear?" He shrugged, glancing around the shattered hull. "I fix things. Doesn't matter if they're engines or empires." Her head tilted slightly as though she didn't understand him, but something in his calm steadiness disarmed her. He was rough, unpolished, completely unlike anyone she'd ever met in her world of gleaming perfection. When she tried to stand, she stumbled. Eli caught her gently, steadying her without hesitation. For a brief heartbeat, the warmth of his hands against her cold skin made her shiver. No one had ever touched her like that, without reverence or fear, but with simple care. "The power core," she murmured weakly. "It's unstable. If it collapses, this area will explode?" He guessed. "Yeah, I figured. Come on." He carried her out through sparks and falling debris, his steps firm even as the ground shook. The ship groaned, its systems whining in protest. Behind them, the wreck collapsed inward in a burst of blue light. Under the twin moons, he laid her down beside the dunes, wrapping his jacket over her shoulders. She stared up at him, her luminous eyes dimming with exhaustion. "You saved me," she whispered faintly. He smiled faintly. "Let's just call it a good night's work." Her eyelids fluttered shut. For the first time since she'd left her empire, she felt safe. And Eli, watching her glow fade softly against the starlit sand, didn't yet know. He hadn't just rescued a stranger. He had just changed the fate of a kingdom among the stars. When dawn touched the red sands of Lyra 9, the wreckage of the alien starship shimmered like frozen lightning. Smoke curled through broken hulls, whispering faintly as the desert wind carried away the scent of scorched metal. Inside his dome-shaped workshop, Eli Carter worked silently, sleeves rolled up, face marked with soot and resolve. The princess, Saphira Valen, lay resting on a cot made from old mining blankets. Her breath was steady now, her luminous skin dimmed to a soft blush like a sunrise contained in flesh. Eli checked her vital signs through her own strange device, a crystal band that pulsed faintly. "Still stable," he murmured. "Guess you're tougher than you look, Your Highness." A faint hum answered him, Her eyes fluttered open, galaxies of violet light returning to life. "Where am I?" "My place," he said, gesturing to the mess of wires, tools, and glowing panels around them. "You crashed hard. I patched you up, but your ship's in pieces out there." Her gaze drifted past him toward the window. Through the cracked glass, she saw the remnants of her vessel, half buried, wings shattered, engines dead. She sat up too fast and winced. No, it cannot be." Eli turned, wiping his hands on a rag. "You should rest. The way that reactor looks, even your Empire's finest couldn't make it fly again." Saphira's jaw tightened. "You do not understand, human. That ship carries my crest, my lineage, my entire command chain. Without it, I cannot return." He tilted his head. "Then I'll help you fix it." She blinked. "You, a human?" Eli gave a half smile. "Well, I've rebuilt colony shuttles, patched hyperdrives, and once rewired a reactor core with nothing but a spoon and some tape. I'm not saying I'll fix it right, but I'll fix it." The princess stared at him, part disbelief, part wonder. In her world, humans were spoken of only in old archives, a near mythical species that once wandered the stars before vanishing into obscurity. Yet this one stood before her, confident, calm, completely unafraid of her status. She finally sighed, folding her hands in her lap. "The ship's hypercore is not mechanical. It's quantum sealed to my biosignature. A single wrong calibration could tear space itself apart." Eli grinned faintly. "Then it's a good thing I'm careful." He moved toward the wreck later that morning. The hull was melted and alive with residual plasma. As his fingers traced the edges, the metal reacted, singing faintly, almost like it recognized him. He laughed softly. "You're not a machine, are you?" "Your art." Saphira watched from the shade of the workshop doorway. She had never seen anyone touch Aurelian technology like that, with reverence, not greed. In her empire, engineers were treated as servants, not dreamers. But this man saw beauty where others saw duty. For days, Eli worked. He slept little, ate less, and hummed old Earth tunes while recalibrating alien circuits. The melody was soft, lonely, full of something Saphira couldn't name. It wasn't logic, it was emotion turned into motion. Sometimes she would help him, reluctantly at first, then curiously. When he asked her to hand over tools, she found herself listening to his small jokes, the way he made even complex failures sound like adventures. On the 5th night, she spoke without thinking. "You humans, you do not fear the impossible." He glanced up from under the engine. "If we did, we'd still be crawling in caves." Saphira's lips curved slightly. "In my empire, failure is punished." "In mine," Eli said quietly, "it's how we learn." Her eyes lingered on him longer than they should have. Something stirred inside her, a warmth she'd never known. For the first time, her heart beat not with duty but with curiosity. By the 7th day, when Eli powered the ship's heart again, the valley burst alive with blue light. Energy arced through the air, painting the desert in auroras. Saphira stepped closer, awe softening her face. You actually did it." Eli wiped sweat from his brow, smiling faintly. "Told you. Just needed a little heart and a lot of stubbornness." She looked at him, the human who had done what her empire's scientists could not, and something shifted inside her forever. For the first time, Princess Saphira Valen, heir of Aurelius, ruler of stars, felt her heart tremble not from fear, but from admiration, and beneath the twin moons of Lyra 9, as the ship's hum settled into calm light, she whispered a truth that even she didn't fully understand. "You are not like any being I have ever known, Eli Carter." He chuckled softly, meeting her gaze. "Good, I'd hate to be ordinary." And that night, under alien skies, the impossible friendship of a human mechanic and an alien princess truly began. The repaired starship gleamed once more under the twin suns of Lyra 9. Its wings of silver stretched like mirrored light, humming with quiet power. The desert winds that had once carried smoke now whispered peace. But peace, Eli learned, doesn't last long in a galaxy ruled by crowns. Saphira stood beside him at dawn, her long silver hair lifting softly in the breeze. She gazed at her ship with pride and hesitation. The Auralis crest shimmered faintly on its hull, pulsing like a heartbeat. "My people will be searching for me," she said quietly. "When the beacon reignites, they will come." Eli handed her a mug of steaming synth coffee. "Good. Maybe they can pick you up before the next sandstorm eats this place," but her expression didn't lighten. Her gaze lingered on him too long. You do not understand, Eli. My empire does not allow contamination, he blinked. Contamination? Contact, she corrected softly. With your kind. With any unregistered species. To them I have already broken the law by simply speaking with you, let alone... Her voice faded, but the warmth in her eyes finished the sentence for her. Eli frowned. That's one messed up rule. She gave a sad smile. It is the foundation of our order. The Oralis Empire fears what it cannot control. And humans? She looked at him as if seeing a paradox. You were once legends to us. Unpredictable, chaotic, full of heart. That is why we built laws to keep your kind away. Eli turned toward the horizon, where the sand shimmered under the rising sun. Guess it's hard to regulate people who don't follow anyone's script. Her lips curved slightly. Yes, that is exactly it. Then the sky changed. A streak of white light appeared above them, followed by another and another. The clouds split as sleek silver ships descended from orbit, their engines roaring like thunder. Saphira's eyes widened. The royal fleet, Eli tensed. They found you. Within minutes, the air filled with the hum of anti-grav soldiers. They surrounded the crash site, weapons drawn, armor glinting with the seal of the Oralis throne. A tall figure stepped forward, his armor pure gold, his eyes like burning blue crystal. Your Highness, he declared, bowing. By order of the Imperial Council, we are here to escort you home. The human will be taken for debriefing. Eli raised his hand slowly. Debriefing sounds a lot like prison where I come from. The commander's tone was cold. You have violated royal law by interacting with Princess Valen. You are fortunate to still be breathing. Eli took a step closer, his voice steady. She would have been dead if I hadn't helped. Enough. The commander lifted his weapon. By decree, you are hereby detained. Stop. Saphira's voice cut through the air like a blade. The commander froze. Your Highness? Saphira's violet eyes glowed faintly. You will not touch him, he hesitated. The law is absolute. Then the law is wrong. Her words were quiet but powerful. Eli's heart pounded. He had never seen anyone so regal, so radiant, and yet so human all at once, Princess, the commander pressed. If you protect this creature, you defy your oath, your empire, and your bloodline. Saphira took a slow step forward, chin high, voice trembling but fierce. Then I defy them. The silence that followed was electric. Every guard stared, stunned. Even the wind seemed to stop. The commander's jaw clenched. You risk everything for a human? She turned her gaze toward Eli. Not for a human. For him. Eli met her eyes, those galaxies of light, and felt something inside him break open. He didn't understand how or why, but in that moment he knew. She had crossed a line she could never uncross. The commander lowered his weapon slowly. Then you leave us no choice. Saphira's ship shuddered as the guards prepared for capture. Eli moved instinctively, grabbing her arm. You don't have to do this for me. Her voice was soft but unwavering. I already have, and with one gesture of her hand, her ship's engines roared to life. The ground trembled as light engulfed them both. When the glare cleared, the ship was gone, leaving the stunned soldiers behind, and the Empire forever changed. Far above the crimson world, two figures disappeared into the stars, a runaway princess and a human mechanic who dared to make her feel alive. The stars blurred into ribbons of blue and white as the ship leapt through hyperspace. Energy hummed through the corridors, steady but strained. Eli gripped the console, eyes wide in awe. You call this flying? He shouted over the roar. Feels more like falling through a thunderstorm. Saphira's hands moved across the glowing controls with elegance and speed. We are between realities. The space in between is never gentle. Yeah. Eli muttered, bracing as another tremor shook the cabin. Neither are your laws. Saphira's expression was unreadable. The glow from the dashboard painted her face in soft golds and violets. The council will not stop. They will hunt me until I return, or until I am destroyed. Then we don't let them catch you, Eli said simply. She turned to look at him, this human with oil-stained hands and a calm voice that didn't match the chaos around them. You speak as if rebellion were easy. He gave a crooked smile. It's not, but freedom's worth the bruises. The ship jolted violently. A warning tone blared. Proximity alert. Pursuit detected. Through the viewport, 3 Oralis interceptors emerged from hyperspace. Sleek, elegant, deadly. They found us, Saphira whispered. Guess they missed you, Eli said, already flipping switches he didn't understand. Tell me you've got guns on this thing. I do, she said, voice steadying. But I have never fired them, he grinned. Then today's a good day to start. The ship dived. Beams of plasma tore through space, streaking past their hull. Eli's heart pounded as he followed her commands. Venting power, rerouting thrust, kicking systems back to life that humans were never meant to touch. Sparks flew, alarms screamed, but somehow they stayed ahead. When one of the interceptors locked on, Eli shouted, "Brace!" He yanked a lever marked in alien script and prayed. The ship spun sharply, dragging a tail of blue light. The pursuing crafts overshot, colliding with each other in a burst of blinding flame. Silence followed. Only the sound of Eli's breath filled the cabin. He glanced over, grinning like a kid. You see that? Saphira stared at him, breathless, her chest rising fast. You should not be alive after doing that. He shrugged. Story of my life, and then she laughed, really laughed. It was soft at first, then bright. A sound like wind through crystal. You are impossible. He looked at her, that radiant alien princess who had just broken every rule of her empire, and something in her laughter made him forget the fear. They hid for days among drifting nebulae, worlds painted in light, places untouched by law or empire. Eli repaired what he could while Saphira taught him bits of her language, her culture, her music. In return, he told her about Earth, the smell of rain, the taste of coffee, the chaos of cities filled with dreams. One evening, as they floated in the quiet between stars, she turned to him. Eli, why do humans fight so fiercely for things they know they might lose? He paused, thinking, because we've lost so much already. But when you've seen the worst, every bit of hope feels worth defending. Her gaze softened. In my world, hope is seen as weakness. Then your world's missing something beautiful. Saphira looked at him for a long time. The stars reflected in her eyes. You are unlike any being I have met. You see miracles in broken things, he smiled gently. Maybe because broken things make the best stories. Silence fell again, peaceful this time. The hum of the ship became a lullaby between them. But deep within Saphira's heart, a storm brewed. She had abandoned duty, betrayed her crown, and risked everything for a man who didn't even belong to her galaxy. Yet when she looked at him, she felt free. As she drifted closer, their shoulders brushed. Her voice was barely a whisper. Eli Carter, what will your people think, knowing you helped an enemy of an empire? He chuckled softly. My people stopped thinking of the stars a long time ago. Maybe it's time someone reminded them what they're missing. Outside, the nebula glowed in colors too wild for names. Inside, a princess and a mechanic sat in its light. Two fugitives, two hearts slowly orbiting something more dangerous than war. Because sometimes the greatest rebellion isn't against empires or laws. It's against loneliness itself. The Auralis fleet caught them near the twin moons of Esseron, a pale blue world wrapped in silent clouds. One moment their ship drifted in peace. The next, the stars filled with silver spears of light. Graviton locks engaged, Saphira whispered, her hands tightening on the controls. They found us, Eli's jaw clenched. Then we fight. She shook her head softly. No, if I resist, they'll destroy this entire system. Too many lives. She turned to him, her eyes heavy with regret. I will go with them. But you— Not a chance, Eli said before she could finish. You're not walking into that alone. A moment later, their ship was seized by tractor beams and pulled into the glowing hangar of the Auralis flagship. Celestial Crown. The sight took Eli's breath away, an endless silver cathedral in space, filled with soldiers whose armor shimmered like glass. As they stepped out, guards surrounded them instantly. The captain's voice echoed through the chamber. Princess Saphira Valen, by decree of the Imperial Council, you stand accused of treason against your crown. Eli stepped forward. Hey, she's no traitor, she just— A guard struck him hard across the face. Silence, human. Saphira's eyes flared with light. Touch him again, she said coldly, and you will lose your hand. The soldiers hesitated. Even in captivity, her presence radiated power. She lifted her chin. I will face my counsel. But he comes with me. The guards exchanged uncertain glances but obeyed. The Empire had trained them to fear hierarchy, and Saphira's bloodline was ancient and untouchable. They were led into the Hall of Starlaw, a vast chamber of light and marble. At its center stood a throne carved from a single shard of crystal, and around it 12 elder figures, members of the Oralis High Council. Their faces were beautiful and cold, their eyes aglow with judgment. The Chancellor rose. "Princess Valen, you defied our sacred laws. You shared technology with a primitive species. You risked the balance of the Empire itself. What have you to say?" Saphira stood tall, her voice clear. "I say your balance was built on fear." A murmur rippled through the chamber. She continued, her tone growing stronger with every word. "You call humanity primitive. Yet this human," she turned toward Eli, "showed me courage when I had lost faith. He fixed my ship, yes. But more than that, he fixed what your rules had broken within me." The Chancellor's eyes narrowed. "You disgrace your lineage with this sentiment." Eli couldn't stay silent. "If caring is disgrace, then maybe your empire could use a little more of it." The hall erupted in outrage. Guards moved, but Saphira raised a hand and they froze. "You see?" she said softly. "Even a human dares speak truth where our own do not. Tell me, Chancellor, when did we forget that we were meant to feel?" For a long moment silence fell. Then the Chancellor's voice came low, hard. "You have chosen exile, Saphira Valen. You are no longer Princess of Oralis. Your name will be stricken from the stars." Gasps filled the hall. Eli stepped forward instinctively, fury in his eyes. "You can't just erase her." The Chancellor sneered. "And you, human, will return to the void from which your kind crawled." Saphira's pulse quickened. "No." She reached for the control crystal hidden in her sleeve. A beam of light surged upward, filling the chamber with blinding energy. Guards stumbled back as her ship, still linked to her through her DNA, answered her unspoken call. "Eli," she said, grabbing his arm. "Hold on to me." The floor beneath them split open in a swirl of teleportation energy. In a flash of blinding white, the Hall of Starlaw vanished, replaced by the echo of silence and the endless stars outside. When the light faded, they stood once again inside their ship, drifting in the void. Eli looked at her, breathless. "You just escaped the most powerful empire in the galaxy," Saphira exhaled shakily. "I did more than that. I left it." Her crown lay in her hand, cracked and glowing faintly. She looked down at it, then out at the stars. "They took my name, but they cannot take who I've become." Eli touched her shoulder gently. "Then let's give you a new one." She met his gaze, soft, uncertain, but full of fire. "And what would that be?" He smiled faintly. "Saphira Valen, the Free." She laughed quietly, tears glimmering at the corners of her violet eyes. "That is a name I can live with." Outside, the stars stretched endlessly ahead. Behind them lay an empire of cold perfection. Before them, freedom and the wild unknown. For the first time in her life, Saphira wasn't afraid of what came next. The universe stretched before them, an ocean of silver and shadow. With every jump, they slipped further from the Empire's reach and deeper into uncharted stars. But freedom, they discovered, was not peace. It was uncertainty. It was the quiet after the storm, when every heartbeat feels borrowed. The ship hummed softly as Eli worked beneath an open panel, his hands stained with oil and light. Saphira sat nearby, watching him with quiet fascination. "You never stop fixing things," she said, a faint smile tugging at her lips. Eli looked up, a smudge of grease on his cheek. "Well, things keep breaking. Guess it's my purpose now." She tilted her head. "Purpose is a sacred thing among my kind. You speak of it so simply." He grinned faintly. "I'm human. We make complicated things sound simple and simple things impossibly complicated." Her laugh filled the cabin like music. But when the laughter faded, something softer lingered. She studied him, the human who had risked everything for her, who now floated between stars with nothing to his name but a stubborn heart. "Eli," she said quietly, "you could still return to Earth. There are coordinates to send you home. You've done more than enough." He paused his work, meeting her gaze. "You want me to leave?" She hesitated. "I want you safe. Then I'm exactly where I should be." For a moment her breath caught. It wasn't the words, it was the way he said them, calm and certain, like a promise carved in stone. Later that night, Saphira stood by the observation window. Her reflection ghosted against the endless stars. Eli joined her silently. "They're beautiful," he murmured. "Yes," she replied. "But to us, stars are not just light. They're memories. We believe each one burns with the echo of a soul that once changed a world. Eli smiled softly. Then I hope one burns for you. She turned to him, eyes shimmering like the nebula beyond. And you? Would you want one for yourself? He thought for a long moment. Maybe not. I'd rather fix the light that's already out there than become another one people just look at. Her chest tightened at his answer. How human, she thought, to want to mend rather than shine. Over the next few days, they navigated through broken space lanes and derelict stations. They repaired what they could, helped stranded travelers, traded spare parts for food. Word began to spread of a mysterious ship, piloted by a fallen alien princess and her human engineer, appearing out of nowhere to help those in need. Saphira could feel the shift within her. She had once ruled through command. Now she led through compassion, and it felt more powerful than any throne. But the past has a way of chasing even those who run the fastest. One night, while Eli was asleep, Saphira received a transmission. The message bore the seal of the Oralis Empire. A voice from home. Saphira Valen, said the voice of her brother, Prince Kale. I do not know if you will hear this. You were exiled, yes, but not forgotten. The council has fractured since your defiance. The people whisper your name in secret. They call you the Starborn Rebel. Her breath caught. Kale's tone softened. They say the human who follows you has changed you. I don't know what to believe, but I know this. Oralis is not the same without your light. The message ended in static. When Eli woke, he found Saphira still staring at the console, silent. Bad news? He asked. She shook her head slowly. Maybe not, maybe a beginning. Eli leaned against the wall. If they're calling you a rebel, that means they're afraid of what you stand for. She smiled faintly. And what do I stand for, Eli? He looked at her, unflinching. For something every empire forgets eventually. The simple power of doing what's right. Her heart swelled with warmth she didn't fully understand. The stars outside seemed to shimmer closer, as if listening. I used to think power came from control, she whispered. Now I see it comes from choice. Eli reached out, his hand brushing hers gently. Then maybe it's time we choose what comes next. The ship drifted quietly through the dark, its engines pulsing like a heartbeat. For the first time, Saphira didn't feel lost. For the first time, she felt alive. And as the light of 1,000 forgotten stars washed over them, the exiled princess and the human engineer shared a silent truth between them, something fragile, radiant and real enough to make even the universe pause to listen. It began quietly. No alarms, no warnings, just the soft pulse of a beacon that shouldn't have existed. Eli was recalibrating the navigation core when he saw it, a faint signal, buried deep in the ship's sensor logs. The code was ancient, encrypted with royal seals. He frowned. Saphira, you should see this. She moved beside him, her gaze catching the flicker of blue light on the screen. Her breath froze. That's impossible. That's the crown beacon. What does it mean? It means my people are coming. Not to hunt this time, but to summon me. Eli leaned back slowly. After exiling you? Her eyes dimmed. If the crown beacon has been reactivated, it can only mean one thing. My father, the Emperor,
is gone. The silence that followed was heavy.
Outside, the stars burned quietly as if mourning. Saphira lowered her head, her voice trembling. The Empire will need a new ruler. My brother Kale is brave, but too bound by the old ways. The Council will devour him. They'll use my name, our story, to control him. And if I don't return, Eli finished softly, they'll erase what you stood for. She nodded. Yes, they'll twist it into propaganda. A warning, not an inspiration. He folded his arms. So what's the plan? She met his eyes, steady, resolute, with that quiet defiance he had come to love. We go back, he blinked. You mean we? Her lips curved faintly. I broke every law to stand beside you. I'm not starting to follow them now. The journey back to Oralis was long and perilous. The Empire had changed. It shimmered now with unrest. Broadcasts filled the stars, whispers of rebellion, songs of a princess who defied her throne for something called the human creed. Eli didn't understand how far her influence had spread until they crossed into Imperial space. Civilian ships lit their scanners as they passed, broadcasting messages of hope in dozens of alien dialects. One voice stood out, Starborn Princess. If you hear this, know that Auralis remembers your kindness. Saphira's throat tightened. She looked at Eli, who only smiled quietly. Guess you're not forgotten after all. When they reached the imperial capital, the golden spires still gleamed, but the city was quieter, the air heavy with doubt. Prince Kyle met them in secret within the royal observatory. He looked older than his years, his silver hair dimmed by exhaustion. When he saw his sister, he exhaled sharply. You really came. I heard your message, she said. I couldn't stay away. Kyle's gaze shifted to Eli, uncertain. And you brought him? Eli bowed slightly. Just a mechanic, Your Highness. Here to help fix whatever's broken. Saphira smiled faintly. You'd be surprised what that means. Kale's expression softened. The council is divided. Half want to preserve the old ways. The other half believe in what you did. Your compassion for the human, your defiance. The Empire needs unity, Saphira. It needs you. She stared out the window at the stars. For a long time she said nothing. Then softly, I cannot rule as I once did. The Auralis throne demands perfection, obedience. I cannot be that anymore, Kale frowned. Then what will you be? She turned to him, her violet eyes aglow, a reminder that power without heart is nothing. Then she did something that shocked them both. She took off her broken crown, walked to the grand dais, and placed it upon the crystal table. The symbol of her bloodline surrendered.